Welcome, beautiful souls, beautiful beings. Welcome back to Crystalline Temple. This is going to be a plant series that is rooted in care, energetics, and lived experience. This series is going to be less about perfection and more about relationship with your plant companions. This is my plant family, ones who have stayed and are going to continue staying with me 2026. These are the ones I've chose because they have not only grounded me, but they've grounded the energy in my space. And they have definitely reflected to me the different seasons of my life, personally, emotionally, physically. These are the plant companions that have taught me and showed me how to listen, how to connect with nature. This is not going to be a video of me ranking these plants. I'm just honoring them and sharing them with you because I do feel like they are good indoor plants for beginners too. Obviously, I live in a drier climate. I wouldn't say that we get much moisture at all. All of these plants have their own care. So let's get into the video. Okay, this one right here. This is my baby Aiko. She's big. This plant, Aiko, I named her Aiko. If you don't name your plants, you should definitely name them. Aiko is a Monstera delicosa with her variegated companion down here. I would say this plant is pretty easy to care for. It does give me the energy of expansion. Like, she's a beauty. She grows fairly quickly. I wouldn't say it's rushed growth, but paced growth. Every week you'll at least see some growth, and if you're not, it's probably just that time of year where it's sleeping and it's reducing its energy, going into dormancy, as they like to say. This brings a lot of calming energy and heartfelt energy to my space, so I do keep it in my bedroom. It seems to grow well in there, and it brings a very cozy core vibe that I love. I feel like this plant can do well in any room, any space, as long as it has enough adequate lighting. This plant does need bright, indirect light, so don't put it like right by the window. You will burn its tips. If you get direct sunlight in this particular window, then just probably keep it on that opposing wall and it'll grow fine. Or maybe a few distance on the side wall of wherever you're getting this direct light, just not right in front of the window because it will burn. And when this plant gets stressed, you will notice like spider mites and pests. I wouldn't say it's like huge pest magnet, but I would spray down the leaves every now and then. All you need is a triple spray bottle and some water, and just spray down the leaves. I like to clean the leaves with my fuzzy glove occasionally, maybe like once a month if I feel like the leaves are too dusty, with a little bit of Dawn soap. You could also use Dr. Bronner's, and that'll clean up the leaves pretty quickly. I would say even misting this plant every day will go a long way because this is a tropical plant at the end of the day. If you're gonna have any type of indoor plant, you know that it's not coming from its natural habitats. Your home is not its natural habitat, so the best thing you can do is try to replicate that in your home. So if you do have this plant, I would recommend a less dry space, but if you don't have a humidifier, spraying the leaves daily or day and night, whatever works for your schedule, will probably be the best thing for this plant. I only water this when the soil gets dry. You do want to avoid overwatering this plant. I feel like it'll let you know when it's thirsty. The leaves will kind of like wilt a little bit down. It'll like sag. The stems won't be as straight up. And this plant does like lots of airflow. It doesn't like to be in a stagnant space. So if you have an air purifier or a window, make sure to circulate that energy so you can strengthen the stems, and these have aerial roots, so they are technically plants that grow up walls. So if you do want to strengthen those roots, you do need a bit of like a breeze going on that lets the plant know, like, okay, I'm still mobile. Like as it moves, it gets stronger. So just keep that in mind. When this plant is healthy, it attracts zero problems. I do highly recommend. But it comes with its balance. Once you find its flow and its routine in the right spot, it's just gonna grow, 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 and grow. And if you guys want more information or care for this beautiful plant, I will make another video in the future. But let's move on to our second plant. So welcoming my second plant, this is Piccolo. As you can see, it looks like Piccolo to me. But let me just stand up so I can show you how big it is right now. I love my prayer plant so much. This plant is called a Maranta. This plant is a very responsive plant. It'll let you know if it's not happy very, very quickly. It'll also let you know if it is, which is a pro. It definitely moves and dances with the light, so it does move its leaves all the time. Day and night, they will be in different positions. This plant probably gives me the most movement every day than any other plant I have. I would say this plant reminds me and helps me to regulate my nervous system, because as sensitive as this plant is, I'm also very sensitive, so I feel like when I'm doing well, this plant is doing well. And it always just reminds me of self-care is important. Your needs are important. Just because you're unique and you're a little fussy doesn't mean that you're not important. So, I would say this takes medium to low light. I always just say medium light because as long as you're not putting it directly by the window, it should be fine. Same with the Monstera. I feel like I have this one directly across from me on my little plant wall over here, and it's happy as can be. For this plant, I would recommend a humidifier because it doesn't like too dry leaves, and if you have too dry leaves, you're gonna attract pests with this plant. So just like the Monstera, try to spritz it every day or just keep a humidifier in your space and you should be okay. This plant does like its soil to be moist fairly often, not overly moist, but moist enough to the point where by the next watering, you shouldn't have to drench this plant unless you've like completely let it dry out. Once it starts to droop its leaves a bit, you know that you need to add just a little bit more water so it can stay cozy in its soil. Once again, this is also a tropical plant. It enjoys humidity, even moisture. Dry air does stress this plant out, and so do drafts, so I would keep it away from drafts as well. But yeah, she's a beautiful plant. I do recommend her. I know she gets a bad rep because she's a very sensitive plant, but if you just water her with distilled water or if you have a filter on your faucet, she should be just fine. Once again, my life hack is always a spray bottle and some consistency. Since I've had her, she's grown like over 10 leaves. She still has new growth here. She's like new growth everywhere. Here. And it makes me happy. This plant grows fairly fast. If you're looking for a fast growing plant and you have that light, you should be good. You should be good. Moving on to the next plant. The next plant that I am taking into 2026 with me is this beautiful snake plant. And I have two snake plants. This one grows in a very different pattern than the other one, which I find super cool. I named this one Trunks. Trunks is a happy camper. And then we have his father, Vegeta. So yeah, this is Vegeta. He's super happy. I've had this plant for a good amount of time, I would say. I do see some webs in here, so I am gonna have to spray it down, but it is like right next to my front door, so I'm not surprised. I'd rather it be there than anywhere else. So yeah, this is the snake plant. Snake plants can do okay with low light. I would say medium to low light. Pretty flexible plants, and I would say they are very known for protection, boundaries, and grounding and containing energy. So I have these two plants by my front door, and I do feel like it does add a sense of protection for when I leave, when I enter, for the energy that comes into my space and the energy that leaves. So yeah, I'm very, very happy about that. And infrequent watering will be great. This plant does not need a lot of water. You'll know when it does, and even if you forget, it'll be fine. It's very tolerable to not being watered very often because it is a succulent. If I am correct about that, I might not be, but I'm pretty sure it's a succulent. This plant thrives off of simplicity. Ignore it for a while, let it be pretty, and you'll be good. Not everything needs attention to be strong. This is what this plant has taught me, and I would recommend this plant because it brings a sense of safety, protection, and even in a lot of cultures, that's how they view this plant as well, for its spiritual and energetic properties being of protection. I'm making a mess. Okay. My next recommendation would be my baby Luna. Luna is a lavender plant, lavender tree, or shrub as you'd like to say. I have her in my room next to my bed. I would say she gives off more of her scent at nighttime, and if you could smell this plant, you know she's happy. If you can't smell this plant, it's probably not happy. When I first got this plant, it was a little stressy because I've never had taken care of herbs before. But she came to me at the right time. She has such a peaceful lunar presence, but she shines the most at night. I would say this plant does need bright light. Would I say directly at a window? No, but maybe on a stool, a foot or two away from the window. This is what she looks like. She's so beautiful. And she is in her dormancy season, so I haven't noticed too much new growth. This plant would be good to burn if you want to make like a lavender bundle. You could with this plant, but right now I just let it look pretty and fuzzy and just fill the space with its aromatherapy. I wouldn't say this is a beginner friendly plant. I would say that you have to treat this plant like a succulent as well. It wants to be in a dry space. It wants airflow. It wants bright light, and I would say this one is a bit finicky with watering, but once you get used to her, she's easy peasy. If she starts to drop leaves, just water less or water more, but as long as you give her one spot to stay in that gets bright light and rotate her, she's a pro, she's a beauty. Highly recommend. She teaches me that sometimes self-care can interrupt the intelligence of how we already regulate ourselves. So this one is very much like trust your body, trust yourself, give yourself what you need, not too much, not too little. So this is Luna. This is my beautiful lucky bamboo plant. I have about 5 of these all in exactly same jars and water. I have not tried growing this plant in soil. It just is very happy in water, so I don't even bother with this plant. This plant is super easy. If it has medium to low lights It should be good, bright to medium light, just once again, not directly in front of a window. Just consistent light every day. It's gonna be happy for years. I occasionally change the water. I don't change it as much as I used to because I feel like it likes being in some of its own bacteria for a while before you completely just, I'm gonna pour out all the water and start over. My tip for you is to get a bottle with a smaller opening so the water doesn't escape as fast and things don't easily come in compared to a wider bottle with water. You will notice for the wider glasses that you keep water in, water will escape and you'll have more bacteria and stuff building up. So if you just keep it in a closed bottle, it'll be fine and happy for years. All of mine are pretty happy and doing well, and I like being able to see their roots. I have not fed this plant yet, and it's doing good and it's happy. So I don't know, maybe next year I'll try giving it fertilized, but if you want a simple beginner plant, I would recommend this plant. If you kill this plant, then you need to perfect your connection with plants. What is this plant asking me? What does it need? What is it like? What doesn't it like? I'm not gonna say I haven't killed this plant before. I have. A lot of times they are sold sick too. So you want to make sure you're looking at the tips of where the shoots come out of, like right here. If it looks black, yellow, don't get it. If it's any yellowing on your lucky bamboo plant, it's probably best you don't get that plant at the store, or try to remove the whole stem of that plant. You can propagate this plant by just cutting here, right here, putting it in water. Once this whole stalk starts turning yellow, it's already gone. There's no coming back after that. This plant is very sensitive to water, so give it clean, purified water, distilled water, filtered water. Don't give it just pure tap because you will kill it. But super easy, non-fussy plant. Once you get it right in its comfortable home, it'll adapt pretty quickly. And I would say this plant, I move around to different places all the time, and it's pretty okay as long as I'm not changing its home. It has not really outgrown this bottle yet, and we will be able to be like, okay, maybe we'll put it in a new home, in a new glass. But as long as it's in the stained glass, it should be okay wherever you put it for the most part. And this lucky bamboo is also known to bring good fortune, peace, good chi, and luck into your space, and even finances, financial blessings. But I would say for me, I've noticed more clear energy. I try to keep one of these in every room of my house. I really do notice how it shifts the energy of the space, and it does add a lot of clear energy to a dense area. So this is a magical plant companion I would highly recommend for your 2026. One thing I do with my plants, I put intentions on all of them. Some of them have fallen off, but write an affirmation on your bottle. Talk to your plant. I don't feel like we are really taught how to connect with plants. We're just taught how to care. Like, if you do this, this, and this, you'll keep it alive. But what you really need to learn how to do is connect with this plant. It is a living being. I do believe that all plants have spirits. Everything has energy. And if you can learn to connect with your plants, they'll tell you what they need. They'll tell you what they don't like. They'll tell you when it's stressed. And they can even attract certain energies in and repel certain energies away. That shouldn't be a taboo topic. I feel like that should just be how you connect with other things outside of humans. So, lucky bamboo, highly recommend. So this next plant is a jade plant. I actually got this one in the mail. It was super stressed when I got it. All the new growth, I'm going to, oh my gosh. All the new growth you see is within a few weeks. So this is my baby. She's been growing very, very happy and long. She's more of a trailing jade. She does have this pink hue, this purplish hue on her. So if you put it in a lot of sunlight, they will turn pink, which I think is super cute and beautiful. Jade plants are known to bring in luck, abundance, community as well. When it comes to like chi and balancing the energy in your space, I do notice a huge difference. This baby will not do the best in low light. Her leaves will drop. I do highly recommend that this plant is taken care of in a bright space. You see how happy it is getting this bit of sun? She's a very happy baby. I would say this plant brings in the energy of stability as well, prosperity long term. This plant has been teaching me like slow and steady wins the race. You have to be patient with jade plants. If they're happy, they're going to start growing fairly quickly, but if they're not, just give them some time to adjust, find the right spot. They despise being over watered. They don't like wet roots for very long. So wait till it dries out and then water it. It already stores moisture and water in its leaves. Just allow it to completely dry out. This plant also likes well draining soil. If you give this plant soil that holds on to too much moisture, it's like more mud when you water it. It's not going to do the best. It's not going to drain the best. So you want to make sure this plant has great drainage. And this plant's happy, you're going to be happy. I really recommend jade in your 2026 journey. Be patient with her and allow her to grow. There's so many different types of jades. Out of all the plants I've shown you, there's so many different varieties of just this one plant. So explore the varieties and see which ones actually connect with you. Because there's a few jade plants where I'm like, I'll probably never get this plant, but I found this one and she's so happy and we vibe. I haven't named her yet. I've had her for like maybe a month or so, 2 months. And I just can't think of anything yet. So if you guys have any ideas, please leave a comment below of what I should name this beauty. And let's move on to the next plant. Next up is Shenron. Shenron is my money tree. It is more so in its dormant stage, I would say. But once again, the money tree is what brings in money and prosperity. I would say it works. Personally, when I don't have this plant, money doesn't come in as fast as when I do have it. And that's only if you're caring for it properly too. A happy money plant brings you so much opportunities, blessings, abundance, good fortune. Money tree is one of the plants I can't not have in my space wherever I go. I sadly so have killed a lot of money trees. They are very, very picky. I would say that my biggest thing was I was repotting them too fast. Money trees have very, very fine roots that grow slow. They put most of their energy developing their trunks. And so they can stay in a small container for a very, very long time. And I think we're used to being like, oh my gosh, it's growing so much, it's time to repot it. If you see that the roots have not completely taken up the entire pot, it could probably stay in this one pot for maybe 2-3 years or more, depending on how happy it is and how much it's growing and how much light it's getting. This plant does not want direct sunlight. It wants indirect bright light. So once again, opposite side of where your window is, the opposite wall. You should be perfectly fine and happy. This is also a tropical plant, therefore it does need moisture. it needs a lot of moisture. So keeping it by a humidifier will do wonders for your plant. Spraying it every day will do wonders as well. And I would say you want to water it when the soil partially dries out. I think it's okay to let the soil dry out and then water it though. I would say it just depends on the season. So if it's in its growing season, I would say maybe it wants to stay moist a bit more. But I would say during winter, cut back on the watering and let it just dry out a little bit. It'll be fine. And I would also say this plant, similar to the lavender plant, where once you give it the right spot and the right lighting, it kind of works itself out. So if you do stress out the plant, as long as it has the right lighting and the right spot, it should be able to bounce back if you reduce or add water, if you give it more moisture or less. But I would say more moisture is the best thing you can do for the leaves, so spraying it and humidity are great. The stress will show in the leaves. So if the leaves on your money tree start to yellow and fall, either one, it's just going through dormancy. It's normal to lose leaves. As long as you still have new growth, it's kind of just how the process goes. Don't let it stress you too much. But this leaf didn't turn, so it just fell. So I would say that's a sign that it's just going through dormancy a little bit. And as long as it's still pushing out new growth, it should be fine. But if it's yellowing and it's browning too much light, too dry, you don't want it to be too dry. It'll stress your plant out. And if it's yellowing, too much water, you put something in the soil that it might not like. I would say it's sensitive to certain synthetic fertilizers, so stick with organic fertilizers for this plant. It hates drafts. If I could recommend anything, do not put it by a window. Do not put it by a vent. Put it like in the middle of your room or on a wall where there's like barely any circulation, and just let it grow. I feel like the number one factor for killing this plant for me has been keeping it by a draft, not enough humidity, and overwatering. But if you keep this plant happy, it will literally bring more abundance into your space. It attracts success and expansion. I also like to add certain rocks and symbols to my plants based off of the energy that I get from them. So in this plant, I have some fake money, Shenron jade. This is a dragon. An orange pill I made for jewelry. For abundance, some peridot, some moss agate in here, some pyrites, some Chinese coins and money. Just fill it with the energy that it vibrates with best. And I've noticed since I've had these in there, it's also a little bit happier. So highly recommend for 2026 a beautiful money tree. So I would say the best plant I can recommend for beginners outside of Lucky Bamboo is this beautiful Syngonium arrowhead plant. I actually made this collection myself, so it has multiple different types of Syngonium in one pot. I have maybe a few of these around the house. They are very hard to kill. You can only kill this plant by overwatering it or drafts. Otherwise, I haven't ever had pests on this plant. I do still give it moisture and I do spray its leaves. This plant does great in water. I kind of switched over from water to soil just to experiment, but I would say it grows just as well as in water than it does in soil. This is my baby fairy. We got some affirmations written on here. As she grows, our affirmations and our intentions grow too. That's the whole point of our plants, is to also be companions and work with us in some type of way. At least for me it is. I would say this plant is the best plant at adapting to any environment. I can pretty much keep this plant in any of my rooms. It'll be okay in low light. But bright light, you'll start to see more growth, pretty consistent and fast. Medium light is probably the best, only because it will burn. It is pretty resilient, so if you mess up, just know that it'll bounce back pretty quickly. If you ever have issues with soil and you feel like your plant is getting stressed, put that bad boy in some water, propagate it, leave it there for a year. It'll be good. Personally, allow it to dry. It'll wilt and it'll let me know, okay, we're ready to get watered. And these are my other Syngonian babies. This is Mochi and this is her sister Bean over here. Let me just show you how tall they get. This one is so happy. I actually want more of these plants in the baskets because they're happy anywhere. Here's Bean. These are vining plants, so they will vine down or they will crawl up just like the Monstera. But I'm trying to see how long they get and big they are. But these are the happy babies. I would recommend this. If I had to choose one plant species, I would choose Syngonians hands down because they're resilient, they're easy. You leave town for a week and come back, they'll be fine. When I say they are very resilient, I am not being over dramatic. They are. If you're just starting off with indoor plants, I would recommend this baby because you can get different varieties, same care. You know, they range from pink to white. There's so many different types of this beautiful Syngonium, and I would say they bring a very soft, fairy-like energy into the space. Our next beautiful companion is going to be Raindrop Peperomia. This plant is just so beautiful. I actually discovered this plant because I was looking for a Pelea money plant, Chinese money plant, and I thought it was this, but actually I'm happy that I chose this plant and not the other plant. Beautiful heart-shaped leaves. I named her Galaxy because she reminds me of the solar system. And super easy plant. Put it in like bright and direct light. She'll be happy. I would say wait till she dries out completely to be watered. She has some pretty waxy thick leaves, so she can handle a drought. I would also say this plant does need well draining soil. I would say the energy of this plant, I would say it brings in love, creativity, also very hard to kill unless you overwater. Otherwise, it has so much new growth already. It's getting all the light. One thing I do recommend, I think I mentioned this earlier with my other plants, is if you're giving it bright and direct light, make sure you're rotating it like weekly. As you can see here, I be forgetting sometimes, but you do want the leaves to grow here as well. As far as pests, I would say spraying this plant is a good idea too, just to prevent pests underneath the leaves. I would say it's susceptible to spider mites. I haven't had spider mites yet, but I can kind of already tell, just because when they're growing, the leaves kind of curve like this before they open all the way. So just be aware that little pests like to hide inside of these type of leaves. So just make sure you're spraying it and you have some type of routine with your insecticides. I will probably make a video about that later. But the biggest risk for this plant is definitely over watering. When they're happy, when any of your plants are happy, they're not going to attract pests. They're going to actually repel them. Think of our bodies, and if we do not keep our immune systems healthy, we are more susceptible to bacteria, infections, viruses. Our immunity just goes down. So think of that like your plant as well. The happier your plant is, the better it is at repelling pests. Just think of it as plant immunity. And just know a happy plant more than likely will not have pests, unless they're the stupid fungus gnats in the soil. Don't even get me started. Added another plant I wanted to share. This plant is very hard to find. I'm surprised I even found it at my local plant store. But we have the devil's backbone, or the zigzag plant. This plant grows in zigzags, which I think is very, very cool. I named it Link because it reminded me of Zelda. As it gets too much light, the leaves will turn pink, actually. And I would say this gives off protection energy. I don't know why they called it the devil's backbone, personally. I don't know. But I would say it gives off creative energy, solar plexus energy, indirect lights, but it will do okay in a window. Make sure, it's not too hot or not too cold of a window. It's essential that this plant has well-draining soil as well. It doesn't need that much water either. It's like a succulent. You need to abuse it a little bit for it to just be happy. This plant is toxic. I have not mentioned this in my other plants. Most of them are toxic to animals, so I would be very mindful of these plants. If you do have pets, I don't have any pets, these are my pets. Just know that this plant is toxic, and if you break off a stem, it does have like this sap that can irritate your skin. You don't want to get it in your mouth. Once again, I've never had an issue. I feel like with any plants that you have as a house plant, unless they're herbs, they're not edible. So expect to have some type of irritation if you eat them. Everybody's skin is different, so just be aware of the saps from your plant. Once again, I don't have issues with this plant ever. It just sits, it chills, and it looks pretty, and we have a great time. Once again, plants don't ask us to be the most perfect plant parent. They much rather be outside. Personally, I think so myself. But I do feel like with the right intentions and mindfulness, having houseplants can be very healing, therapeutic, companionships, relationship with the earth and the planet. There are some plants that are more endangered that you can definitely, multiply in your abode. But I also do think there is very much so a plant trend of overconsumption with houseplants, and these plants belong in their habitat, in their own biome. If there comes a point where that biome is being threatened, I do believe that if we can keep this species alive, then sure, have houseplants, but just be mindful that these plants, unless you go to a very eco-conscious plant shop, they're being grown by the dozens. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but when it comes to rare species and tropical plants that aren't native to certain biomes, do know you're spending a lot of money on a plant that is not going to be the happiest if you really cannot reflect that space that it used to live in. So I have so many different conflictions with houseplants. There's some houseplants I'll never have, simply because I don't live in the tropics. This plant is not going to be happy. I would probably spend way too much money, way too much energy trying to keep this plant alive. And yeah, I think number one thing is that you need to be present with your plants. You can meditate with your plants, y'all. You can name your plants. You can give them tasks, affirmations. They can communicate with you in more ways than you think. There is this thing called resonance. That's going to be a whole other video. But I'm bringing these plants with me into 2026, not because they're trendy necessarily, but because they listen and I've listened to them and we've built a relationship. Seeing them every day makes me happy. It grounds me, full of love and life, and it gives me a purpose. As a person who deals with a lot of depression, I do find that having plants has helped me take care of myself, helped me be more aware of my surroundings and knowing that I'm not alone. And even if my time is spent with my plants. It's worth every second of the time that I am caring for them. When I care for my plants, I feel grounded. I feel like I'm learning and I'm growing within my skills and my abilities. I'm even starting a plant journal where I observe every plant and I experiment with them and be like, okay, like, what is it like? What doesn't it like? How does it feel to me? Like, we can dive deeper into our plants, get to know them, and hopefully teach other people around us as well that they're not just something that grows and gives us oxygen. They're beings, they have spirits. If you're building a space and you want it to feel grounded, rooted, and alive, start with the plants that vibe with you, that stay with you, and connect with you. Because there are plants that I will not connect with, and that's okay. But there are plants where I'm always like, okay, you know what? I like this plant, we vibe, I can have this all over my space. So if you experience plant failure, it's okay, it's normal. Maybe you guys just aren't resonating right now, or maybe in the future you will, but there are so many other plant species to explore. So do not limit yourself. And if you enjoyed this video, please give this video a like, comment, subscribe, or not. It's not gonna stop me, but I appreciate all of the support. And if you want more plant videos and care videos, more in detail, please let me know. Thank you, beautiful souls, beautiful beings, for being with me at this time. Send you guys all the love, and may this year be full of beautiful plant companions, wellness for not only you, but for your plant as well. And so much peace, healing, and joy. Thank you. Take care.